Welcome. Monday Feel Fresh podcast listeners. If you're watching this on YouTube, hello. If you're listening to this whilst driving your car or doing some exercise on Spotify, great to have you here. But even more importantly, if you're watching this live, then fantastic to have you here. That's right. You can show up live to these calls. See Nat and I in the flesh.
Horrified. You should be horrified.
No edits can be done. So this is us. There's a real look behind the scenes into how we do what we do at Drink Less Feel Fresh, and that's how we like it, right, Nat?
Yeah, that's how we like it.
It's generally why most people approach us, right? They want to work or learn from someone who's been in the thick of it and continues to be in the thick of it, which means continues to be in the thick of life and still show up anyway.
Good point. That's a very good point.
Today we're diving into a very common theme as of the past few days in the Drink Less Feel Fresh universe, and this is probably the first time we're taking a members-only conversation and bringing it to the public audience.
Oh, epic.
And today we are diving into transition stages and spatial awareness.
Nice.
And I wanted to start the call by, when I was getting excited and getting ready for this podcast this morning, I get really excited about shifting the conversation someone's having with themselves. I know you probably know that.
Yeah.
Like I love when someone's
that's your bread, mate. That's your bread and butter. Oh, you're saying this, but you really actually mean this. They go, oh.
Yeah, that's what we found to be one of the biggest problems in the alcohol reduction industry. So many people are focused, like salivating at the teeth of alcohol and controlling alcohol. And a conversation,
yeah, God.
It's just it's like your own little hamster wheel rat race, isn't it? It's just, your conversation that you had with our 50, 60 of our Drink Less Feel Fresh members, I think it was Thursday or Friday, and you were talking about the art of managing yourself on a day-to-day basis and therefore reducing your need to switch off with alcohol at the end of the day. And I don't know if you know, Nat, because I ran a private call that you weren't at on Saturday morning that I run, a live Q&A, and I actually just created an adaptation onto that. And the members loved it. And that's why I've been motivated to kind of bring it to the public eye today, because I think it'll be beneficial. And, if you're listening to this call, this is probably the main frame and theme for today, is that one of the biggest problems in the alcohol reduction industry is that individuals get focused and stuck on figuring out how to control and manage alcohol. And they forget to focus on the one thing that actually leads you to drinking, which is how to control and manage yourself. So Nat, in saying that, I want to welcome you to the screen. And can you share with us your thoughts on the power of owning transitions in your day and why that has such a big effect when it comes to reducing something like your alcohol consumption?
Yeah, cool. Okay, great start. A lot of the reason why people end up stressed at the end of the day, and not stressed, but a little bit, deficient, tired, not themselves, all that jazz, is not necessarily the amount of workload, not necessarily the amount of pressure, but the consistency of one frame of mind throughout the whole day. Having one frame of mind throughout the whole day is incredibly taxing. Like people wake up and they go, all right, like here's a typical day, I go to the gym. So they're on and they're brekkie in and they're coffee and they're at the gym. And if you don't catch yourself, that mindset doesn't change the whole day. Get to the gym, train. Yep, good. Shower. Okay, late for work. No worries. Get there. Emails. And you just you're chasing your tail the whole way because you haven't stopped and gone, hang on. There's transitions in my day where my mind actually needs to change. And those changes in the day of transitions allows you to get a bigger picture on your day, have a different intent through the day, be a different identity through the day. So when you get home, you don't feel like this chasing your tail the whole day. Oh, finally I can relax. You could have relaxed after the gym for 5 minutes,
So good. So it's so good because it's so simple. Yet if you're listening to this podcast or this YouTube series, or you're listening live, this will be a clear insight into often we segregate our audience. If you want to learn about alcohol, if you want to learn about what alcohol is doing to you and how to manage that more so, then this isn't the call for you. But if you want to have control, freedom, choice, and power back, then at Drink Less Feel Fresh, we're always talking about the conversation that actually matters. And no, it's not about alcohol. The conversation that matters is, how do you manage yourself? How do you show up on a day-to-day basis? How do you lead yourself through this emotional, psychological, and spiritual world so that you can feel the way?
No, Tom, it's about alcohol. It's about alcohol, Thomas. I drink too much.
I hear it all the time. I heard it last week. Somebody called me, wanted to do one of our programs. I was giving them some insights like this and that, and it was a similar response. Oh, no, you didn't hear me. It's just a habit for me.
Yeah.
But, no, it's not. No, it's got nothing to do with the chemical imbalance. It's just a habit. My response was, because I think this is valuable to the listeners, I said, oh, do you know how habits are formed? They said, well, no, how habits are formed. I said, well, a habit is formed to manage your emotional state. That's what a habit is. A habit is a physical symptom of managing your emotional state. And I said, oh, that's interesting to know. And I said, yeah, so we need to learn how to manage your emotion, right? And I have this conversation about this, like a light, playful conversation. They're coming on board for our next 30-day detox. They're keen and excited.
Right.
We wasn't having a stab at this person, but it is interesting, isn't it? It's like there's two sides of the game to play. No, it's not me, it's alcohol.
Yeah.
Or no, it's not really alcohol. I understand it's me.
Yeah. Great. That's a bloody great start.
What side of the fence do you want to sit on? I'll tell you right now, if you want to play the whole it's not me, it's alcohol, then traditional therapy, rehabilitation clinic, or the AA system is going to be good for you. And that's not throwing those things under the bus. Just it's where the conversation is.
To go back to the transition in the day and starting with, people think they need one frame of mind throughout the day. I'll give you a kind of frame reversal, which has been nice to play with. When you get to your place of work, often the desired mindset is a stimulated one. That's why people like to be stimulated before work. They like to be fresh or whatever there is. But there's a general sense in our culture that a stimulated mind is the best place to be and start work. For the last probably 2 years, I've been really working with that on clients on not stimulating themselves in the morning at all. So getting them into their day with a settled mind and letting the day work the stimulation into them. Because everyone's got to work hard these days. It's not like some people work hard and some people don't. Everyone works hard. So you're going to be demanded in your day by all kinds of things. If you stimulate too early and try and keep that one frame of mind, you just lose track. But if you actually take time before work to spend 5 minutes in the car chilling out, to spend 10 minutes writing out, what the priorities and calming yourself down and easing into the day, when the demands hit around that midday 1 o'clock and you are right in the sweet spot. Starting your day,
For those I just want to check in for anybody that's new to the podcast, anybody that's new to the Drink Less Feel Fresh way, what we're discussing here is, yes, we're talking about alcohol reduction, but why? The reason why we're having this conversation is because we found that the number one reason why people tend to overconsume alcohol more to the extent that they'd like is because they're trying to manage their time, their space, or their energy. Right? That's it. They're just trying to deal with their time, their space, or their energy. So we often hear someone saying, well, I'm tired, so my energy is down. We often hear someone say, well, I'm just so far behind the 8 ball. It's already 8 o'clock. I haven't cooked dinner, haven't done my work, and now I just need to switch off.
Yes, that one.
A lot of programs will take you into managing your time, real logical focused, and some programs, I should say, will take you into mastering your emotion. We're talking about today managing your space, which is managing the physical spaces that you move through. I'm a big fan of the term spatial awareness. And that's what Nat's talking about as well here. It's the ability to be aware of the space, not only that you're in, but the transition of spaces from one into another. And it is very, very rarely spoken about. I'm yet to hear about it on any other podcast alcohol reduction programs that I do follow. But in regards to managing your time, your energy, and your space all at once, just looking at what Nat's about to take us through, if it's okay, Nat, just kind of an insight into a daily transition phase, is managing your space, letting go of your time for a moment, letting go of how you feel for a moment, and just observing a 24-hour period or a single day. We do this at Drink Less Feel Fresh, a single day observation transition phase exercise, and just observing the spaces that you're in and how you do or don't manage yourself through those spaces. As an example, from the space of bed into the space of the shower, from the space of the shower into your morning breakfast, from morning into the car, into traffic. And you'll notice dramatically if you're prepared to try this on. You'll notice, like, I can't stop smiling because it's just hilarious how much you can feel the difference in your space, your time, and your energy from just doing this. Now, give us an insight into, and probably more down the lines of how you were training some of our Drinkless Feel Fresh members earlier in the week on how someone might start from listening to this podcast. They're like, okay, I'm kind of getting it, not too sure the science behind it, but I'm kind of trusting what they're saying. It does sound beneficial. What would I do today or tomorrow if I wanted to apply what Nat and Tom have been talking about?
All right. So I'll take you through the transitions, and I only start people with two thoughts at each transition. 2 intentions at each transition. The very first transition is from the sleep space to waking up. Biggest transition of the day, right? That is the biggest transition of the day. And it's an opportunity to open your eyes, check in, and go slow. So many people wake up and, like, the influences around us right now, get up, get it done. It's like literally the worst thing you can do for yourself. Get up, notice you're in a transition, and take it slow. Let your body and mind wake up. You're not yourself in the first 3 minutes of waking up. So that's the first transition.
Is it, Nat, can I jump in here? Is it just me, or are some of us really good at judging ourselves based on that space? And as you just said, we're not even ourselves, and we're already in the, like, oh, how am I going to get any work done today? I've got so many emails to get to. It's like, we're not even ourselves, and we're already giving ourselves a hard time.
I don't place any judgments on life or myself for the first half an hour of every day.
I love it. I love that idea.
You can't. It's just, you're not anyone yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
I might jump in and give specific examples when you go through the transitions, because they're going to be relevant to everyone. Saturday, I was doing the live Q&A with the members, and I was sharing this with them. I said, for example, I know that one of my most difficult transition phase in the past has been the morning. It's been out of the bed and into the day.
Yeah, the Tommy morning.
Right, it's the morning, it's transition. And I shared with them, just from what you're sharing, one of the biggest differences a simple strategy has ever made for me is, what I call transition phase 1. And with what you said, Nat, if anyone likes specific examples, the art of waking up, becoming aware that I'm already caught, which means I either don't feel the way I want to feel, I'm either thinking about how I've got stuff to do, so I'm already behind the 8 ball, or I need to be somewhere. Like, it's just, that's how I know I'm caught. If I'm already thinking about the past or the future, I've lost the moment. I've been up for like 45 seconds. What the hell's going on? So I was sharing with the team on Thursday and Friday morning, I woke up a little bit sluggish, and I became aware that I wasn't enjoying, and I just was feeling a bit off. So that was Wednesday and Thursday. So Friday came around, I had this great fallback strategy, which is what you and I are teaching individuals today, which was to own the transition phase. And I hadn't done it all week, which is funny, right? Because usually when you don't do what works for you, it catches up to you. And I remember I woke up, I opened my eyes, and I was looking around, and I remember it was all just about to creep in. The thought of, like,
you feel it.
Oh, this is 3rd day now, Tom. Oh, are you getting sick? Oh no, what's this going to mean for business? And I'm like, and I just stopped. And the simple strategy that actually makes all the difference for me is, what are 5 things you're grateful for? And I'll just look around and find physical objects in the room. Grateful for the fan, kept me cool. Grateful for the blinds. If I didn't have them, I probably would have been woken up like 2 hours earlier. I'm grateful for the paint. That's just a beautiful color. Grateful for this. And then I'm out of bed and I'm in a completely different space. Transition phase number 1, done.
Yep. Perfect. Each time you go through these phases, there's the first recognition is, as Tommy said, just recognizing the spatial change. So if we're going from sleep to awake, then that's the first spatial change into your room, into your house, you're waking up into a nice, comfortable place. So take it slow. The next one is, some people train in the morning, but we'll just go general. The next one is normally to work. So that transition, and that's a big one for a lot of people. A lot of people will have to get over that hump. If you take 5 minutes in the car before you go into work and just settle yourself and ask yourself 2 things. What's my intention for the start of the morning? Not the whole day. People think the whole day. It's way too long to hold an intention, guys. It's too long. First intention is just, what's my intention for the morning? What's my intention for the morning? And then the next follow-up question is, who do I need to be to do that? Who do I need to be? What's my intention for the morning? Who do I need to be? and then you carry that into the morning, and then you'll get to your lunchtime threshold. Lunchtime, like people that eat at work and keep doing things stress me out watching them. But food, the time of eating, do it slowly, calmly, outside, no stimulation. The recovery you get from eating properly mentally is massive. Like the worst thing you can do is eat and do stuff at the same time. You go, oh yeah, but I have so many things to do. So does everyone else. But rushing it is not a predictor of how good the work's going to be or how much you're going to get done.
Yeah, I love that. So does everybody else. You can either have a conversation about owning yourself, or you can not talk about manage yourself, but then don't, excuse my French, but don't bitch and complain about needing to switch off at the end of the day with drugs, alcohol, Netflix, whatever it is. Like, of course you need a couple of beers at the end of the day. If you can't even have 3 to 5 minutes to enjoy a meal during lunchtime, what's the point?
Yeah.
What is the point?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Look, let's talk generally how the majority of us speaking. I had a really busy week last night. Busy, I meant like longer hours than I normally have, and apparently less time to set intentions last week. That's how I'd say it's busy. I had my lunch and I went to sit down at my computer, and I was so close to doing what you just said that. I was like, the minute you're talking about it, I'm like, oh shit, I was so close to doing that last week. Just from training myself so many times. I put the plate down, had this beautiful meat and salad roll, just looked so delicious. I sat down, I'm looking at the computer, I'm about to try to eat and reach over the computer and do emails. And I looked outside, heard a bird or something. And I was like, I just almost had to tell myself to shut the F up. I was like, Tom, just shut the F up. And I just had to force myself. I felt like I would have forced myself to go outside. The minute I sat out in the sun, had to even put my sunnies on and just started eating.
There we go.
20 to 30 seconds. All the noise is gone, you're good to go.
Yes. And so those they're not small things, guys. You got to remember that. So how energized you feel, how clear you feel, how stable you feel is easily recovered, right? Easily recovered. So these little transitions are moments of rebalancing, recovering. And I get what you think we're doing this podcast for no reason? It works. We're obsessed with things that work here. Then you got your midday transition, and then the afternoon transition is a big one too. So obviously at midday, we're thinking two things. What's my intention for the afternoon? Who do I need to be for the afternoon? Typically with me, around the 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., I know I'm not at my best. I know that's just how my day rolls. So if I'm at a 6 out of 10, I'm just going to optimize my 6 out of 10. I'm not going to stress myself out. I'm not going to push it. I'm going to optimize that 6 and push everything else to the next day. Work these days because of this thing. There's an endless horizon. It doesn't end. So to think you're ever going to get ahead of it is it's literally the wrong view. It's the wrong perception of how life operates. You will never get ahead.
Now, what did you say about, because I think it's really, we can apply it here really beneficially. What did you say last week about your a very high-performing, high-functioning CEO that has a lot of responsibilities, and he just accepted the fact that there was something. Can you just tell without telling the story, what did he accept that there was always going to be? What was it?
He said the moment when I started to really get on top of things and really do well is I accepted that every day there's a reason to panic.
Great. So perfect. So from what Nat's sharing is that everyone that's listening, maybe we all just need to accept that every day there's a reason to be behind the 8 ball.
Yep.
Every day there is going to be a reason to not have time, because of the world we live in, to not have the space, to not have the energy. You're always going to have a reason. Until you accept that fact, you're probably just going to be chasing your tail.
Yeah. And normally the tail that you're chasing is an ideal that you've created. Most of the time there's an ideal version of the day in your mind. Your mind versus the cosmos. I mean, it's gonna you're not gonna win. So
I love that. One human being, the whole world doing its thing. I will conquer.
I will get it the day right. Just settle into.
Now, I kind of want to, rather than any more strategy, but let me know your thoughts on tips on how to do it. What if we just welcome viewers and listeners right now to experience the next 24 hours just becoming aware of the spaces that they move through?
Perfect.
And I think that's key, because a lot of, not only when it comes to alcohol reduction, but whenever you're trying to hit a goal or a milestone or crush something, a lot of the time we hear people say, oh, but how do I stop it from happening next time? And our answer is always the same. It's, well, you can't stop it from happening the next time, because if it happens, it's already happened. And if it's not happened or hasn't happened, then it's not going to happen. So you got to live in the moment, which means becoming aware of when it happens so you can interrupt the process. Like that's a big key, right? It's like a lot of people go, oh, how do I make sure it never happens again? Like, notice my two examples. I became aware that I was about to do the same thing in bed and start to feel shit. I became aware that I was about to sit down and have my lunch, so I interrupted it.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the only thing that we really need to look after now, right? Is just become aware of when you're doing what it is that you're doing, whether it's feeling the way you want or just not feeling the way that you want.
Yeah, that's Tommy. You just reminded me of something of the difference between what people think is an optimal state. So, and we think an optimal state is, as I said, on, stimulated, and focused. That's actually incredibly rare. The most optimal state for the day, and the most optimal state for alcohol reduction, is what I call the I don't mind state. The reason why I'm here right now in this spot is because I could have got up and potted around home and made a tea and sat in the office, but I would have minded doing this podcast. I would have had to get over a bit of resistance to get to the podcast. I come down here, do some breathing, jump in the ocean, got my towel on. Do I mind doing a podcast now? Hell no, I don't mind. And the more I can not mind doing things, my life just flows. Because that's the optimal mind is the I don't mind, not I'm ready to crush it. That's great, but that's taxing.
Yeah, not very well said. I love that. Let's just focus on getting into a space of I don't mind.
I don't mind. That's
optimal.
Yeah, I don't mind is epic.
I kind of want to finish with this. How important do you think it is to stop? Like, when it comes to owning your transition phase, how important is it to actually stop? Because I was driving the car this morning, Nat, and I had a pretty big observation and from myself and owning transition phases. I was driving the car down to the cafe, and I normally love it. It's like my optimal zone.
Yeah,
I'm like, this is
the
my
morning
thing.
routine.
It's 10 minutes to myself. And I was driving down. Yeah, and I noticed I was trying to get into my transition phase as I was driving, and I'm trying to talk myself into it. And I'm going through these gratitudes, and nothing's working. And I'm like, and I just pull the car over and just push pause on the radio. And again, about 6 seconds, done, and I'm back in the car, and I'm in a completely different space. I think that's we're not going to dive into it, but aren't we now? You and I, we're borderlining talking about the deep strategy that helps you live in the moment, because every transition stage is really just a chance for you to get back into the moment, right?
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. The last one is home, from work to home. Big one again. Most people, when they get to that threshold of I finish my day, I'm back home, you got two options here. Some people just throw the day off and just go straight into food telly sloth like, oh, I'm done for the day, and just say leave dishes and stuff like that. Other people miss that transition and continue that kind of hyper stimulation into their day. So into the washing, into the, and their feet are hurting and I just can't ever get a chance to rest. And they carry that same mindset all the way through into bed. And when they switch off, if they're trying to go to sleep, like that, you just can't sleep like that. You can't wind down like that. That threshold when getting home is critical.
Nat, have you heard, you've got more of a clinical experience than me. I was sharing a story and an example with our Drinkless Feel Fresh members, and like 10 out of 10, 50 out of 100, 100% of the people on the call said, oh, I've done that. So about probably like 6 years ago, I was reading an article on quite an old study that some psychologists and clinical professionals did. And they took a group of individuals who had thriving intimate relationships, right? They did a study, and if anyone's listening, this study, and I don't do it the justice it deserves, I apologize in advance. And they did a study, and they put them in high intense, kind of semi over reliance, kind of dysfunctional work environments 5 days a week. And they did it for 3 months. And then they did a reporting study to figure out what was going on. And the amount of them that came back to suggest that they had troubles in their relationships, and their relationships were actually the problem and didn't associate. But and the study, I forget the term, I don't know if you know it now, it's along the lines of, it'll come back to me in a sec. It's like a false negative association of some kind. So they were associating the energy and the emotion they were experiencing at work. And then because the first trusting face they saw was when they walked in the door, it was
when they got home.
It was the first place they let it go, which is beautiful because sometimes you use your partner, lack of a better term, as a punching bag, which means you're vulnerable, you trust them. Yeah. And that's just because your partner, generally, you feel most safest around them. So unfortunately, you share the good with them and sometimes you share the bad. But that was a really interesting fact, because if you don't own and study, because if you don't own your space and awareness in your transition phase, especially the leave work to get home, you can create some false associations and start to think it's not work, it's the person, because you're communicating with that person. So at work, you're experiencing the emotion, you're suppressing it because you're trying to get through the day and be productive. You get home, you let it out. And because you're letting out, your brain can start to associate, if that's what's happening at home, that's the person that's doing it.
Yep. That's
crazy,
wild.
right?
That's wild. Well, we do have an
to know.
We have an associative mind, not a linear mind. So like, I'll give you that example, Tommy, again in a different way. If you let's say you've been with a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a partner and you've broken up and it was really painful, and then your friends do the, you'll be right, mate, let's do it, let's get back out there, like, go do what you want to do. Like, yeah, I'll go do what I want to do. And if you go watch the sunset in the morning, sunrise in the morning, it's really beautiful, and they go, oh, but that's what we used to do, we used to watch the sunset, now I'm really sad. It's because you associate things, it's not linear, so we associate all the time. Now the sun makes me sad.
Yeah, doesn't that just really sum up the importance of living in the moment? Because it's an association break, right?
Yeah.
If you can learn to live in the moment, you're ditching and letting go of the.
That's it.
Team, we're going to wrap it up with this. If you get home, if you travel from a work location or an office of some kind and you travel home, when you get home, next time, if you drive your own car, next time you turn your car off in the garage or wherever you park, just pause. Generally 60 seconds is long enough, and set your intention. Who do I want to be walking into the door? And just notice, maybe you didn't know who you wanted to be. Maybe you wanted to walk in as really busy and I'm tired, I need a drink. Maybe you want to walk in as, I'm glad to see you, beautiful family. Really take a moment. And if anybody of you get public transport or you work, next time you got to put your keys in the door or open the door handle, just stop. Usually 60 seconds is long enough. We don't want to push them now. We don't want to push them.
But yeah, it's important, guys, to realize that even if we just start with this understanding of you can't have one type of mind throughout the whole day. It has to come up, it has to come down, it has to rebalance, it has to switch off, it has to come back on. It's like anything else.
Love it. Here's drinking less and feeling fresh. Trust you have absolutely loved this podcast where we dove into all things how to manage your day, how to manage yourself on a daily basis, and therefore dramatically reducing your need to drink. You can watch these recordings and past recordings on Spotify. Head to Drink Less Feel Fresh on YouTube. You can see the video recordings.
Sorry, Tommy. We are, just under 3 weeks away from our next detox, 30-day detox, 20th of March.
30-day detox kickstarted 20th of March. It is maxed out to 50 people. Tickets have started selling 3 days ago. Head to drinklessfeelfresh.com. You'll see the 30-day challenge area there, and you can click on the link, book in a call with me. You and I can have a personal chat. Hell yeah. And we can see if you're ready for the 30-day detox. Thanks, everyone. Here's Drinking Less and Feeling Fresh. See you next week. Same time, same place for an epic way to start the week.
See you later.